Saint Paisios of the Holy Mountain, the Heavenly Signal Man. A narration biography for children. One student who longed to meet Elder Paisios was 17 years old, deacon from Cyprus named Father Athanasios. Father Athanasios had heard many stories and rumors about the holy monk, and in his heart he felt compelled to see the elder with his own eyes. And so, at last, October 1976, he and a fellow deacon from the School of Theology set off for Mount Athos. They took the ferry to the holy mountain, got directions to the elder's hut, and then trekked off on foot. Once at the elder's hut, they saw a sign on his door that read, "If you need anything, please write me a note and leave it in the box, as my prayer would benefit you more than my chatter." The two students were crushed. They really traveled all this way to write a note? After some debate, they decided to knock on the door, but there was no answer. They knocked again, still no answer. Father Athanasios decided he needed some help. He took his prayer rope and said, "Lord, enlighten your servant to open the door." In his mind, Father Athanasios was convinced that Elder would be something out of this world, a saintly being with dazzling appearance that would testify to the heavenly status. And so he prayed with all his might, hoping God would grant him this request. Finally, just as he reached the last knot on his prayer rope, he heard a creak. The door had opened. "What do you want, my child?" the elder said, smiling at them from the doorway. Father Athanasios froze. Instead of the otherworldly being he had expected to see, in front of him stood a small, frail old man, wrapped in a stripy green blanket, whose smile exposed a set of missing teeth. "We ask for your blessing, Elder." "Come in," the elder said with a kind voice. The students entered the hut, and the elder told them to sit. He offered them water and lucumia, and then he began to tell them a series of anecdotes. At one point, while telling a story, he took off his shoes, stood on his bed, and made funny gestures describing something that happened to him. As for Father Arsenios, every time he tried to take a sip of his water, the elder would shove another lucumia into the young man's mouth, saying, "Have another one." By the time they left, Father Athanasios had eaten almost 15 lucumia. As they were departing, the two young men respectfully knelt to kiss the elder's hand. Father Athanasios had liked the elder, but part of him was puzzled. Was this monk really a great saint, as everyone had said? He wasn't sure, but as soon as he and his friend had kissed the elder's hand, something explicitly happened. An exquisite fragrance engulfed the entire hut, filling the young student's soul with a heavenly joy. The elder, realizing what had happened, said to them, "Now, be on your way, quick." He ushered them out of the hut and shut the door. The two friends, intoxicated by this heavenly joy, started to run. Overflowing with energy, they ran for nearly 5 kilometers in just 17 minutes, a distance that normally would have taken them about an hour. "Notice the settlement of Caries in the distance." Father Athanasios stopped in his track. "Hold on, blessed one," he said to his friend. "Why are we running like this?" "How should I know?" the deacon said, out of breath. "Thank God nobody saw us. They would have thought us insane." The two of them burst into laughter, and as they slowly came to their senses, they realized that they had been given a great gift. They had experienced God's testament to the elder's holiness. The elder himself, though, took a more modest view of the situation. In his extreme humbleness, Elder Paisios considered himself the most insignificant person on earth, and knew that the miracles were all from God, and that he was merely an instrument. And he himself once said, "I wonder what people see in me, and why they run to me as they do. I see nothing good in myself. I'm nothing but a zucchini that one mistakes for watermelon because of its skin." During the last 15 years of his life, from 1979 to 1994, Elder Paisios lived in the hut of Panaguda, which means Little Panagia, near Caries, a capital of Mount Athos. The elder's fame, which had grown steadily over the years, had now reached its peak. Hundreds of pilgrims visited him each day, not just from Greece, but all over the world. They came to seek his blessing and to receive his enlightened advice. Due to his great love for people, the elder rarely had time to rest or even to say his daily prayers or attend services. This troubled him. But the Panagia yet again gave him heavenly counsel. "My job is to protect you, and I do," she told him. "And you must accept anyone who visits you without exception, as these people are in need." After this, the elder devoted himself entirely to the service of the people. All day long, he would listen to the problems and concerns of the pilgrims who visited him, offering advice and consolation, and in the evening, he would pray for them with love, feeling their pain. During Christmas of 1980, the elder welcomed visitors from the morning of Christmas Eve until the vigil of the Nativity. During the vigil, the elder refused to sit for 10 hours until the service had finished and had to cling to his stall to endure the exhaustion. Father Athanasios, the deacon who had visited Elder Paisios in 1976, was now a monk on Mount Athos and was very close with him. During this Christmas vigil, he sat next to the elder and worried about his condition. He saw how fragile he was and wondered how he could bear to live like this. That afternoon, on Christmas Day, he went to the elder's hut to bring him some food. The elder told him, "My love for people is so great and so strong that it burns my bones. I'm melting like a candle out of love and joy for God's flock. I cannot possibly deny my visitors when they are in such great need of comfort. If I could, I would take a knife, cut my heart into little pieces, hand it to the world, and then lay to rest." The elder's entire life was an arduous odyssey of struggles, trials, and temptation. And though he had triumphed over many battles, God allowed him to endure one last ordeal before awarding him the martyr's crown. And that ordeal was cancer. There in his hut, the elder endured great pain, but he would not visit a doctor. Finally, the ecumenical patriarch himself, when hearing the elder's condition, sent him a message urging him to seek medical attention. The elder conceded, and on November 3rd, 1993, he left Mount Athos for the monastery of St. John the Theologian in Soroti for the vigil in remembrance of St. Arsenios. The vigil took place on the evening of the 9th, and a few days later, the elder consulted with the doctor and was diagnosed with a severe form of bowel cancer. Immediately, he underwent radiation therapy and surgery, and so God had answered yet another of the elder's prayers. For many years, he had begged the Lord to afflict him with cancer, so that he himself might take on some of the burden of those who suffered from this awful disease. Such was his love for his fellow people. After leaving the hospital, the elder returned to the monastery of St. John the Theologian to convalesce. However, he soon realized that the time had come for him to leave this world. His hope was to return to Mount Athos, where he wished to take his last breath. But yet again, God had other plans. The Lord wanted his chosen servant to comfort people even after his death by leaving his remains in a place accessible to all. And so it was that, each time he prepared to depart, his condition worsened. On June 24th, 1994, While they were eating supper, the elder made a special request. He asked the guest master of the monastery to give the sisters something sweet after their meal. Once this was done and the meal was finished, the elder called the sisters to assemble. "Did you all enjoy your dessert?" he said to them. "Well, now I'm going to treat you myself." Then he asked a nun to read something he had written. And as the sister recited the elder's words, all were left speechless. It was a poem expressing his final wish before departing for heaven, the poem which the elder wrote in his own hand as he trembled from excruciating pain, went as follows: "My life ends here, and also my breath. Here is my body entombed, and my soul rejoices. My saint lives, and this is my honor. I believe he will pity my wretched soul. He will pray to our Redeemer for the Panagia to be with me." Monk Paisios of the Holy Mountain. And so, with these words, the elder announced to the sisters that it was his wish to be buried there in the monastery of St. John the Theologian, where the relics of his beloved Saint Arsenios also had been laid to rest. After this, the elder's condition began to deteriorate. Nevertheless, at night he would stand in front of his iconostasis and read all the letters and names he received from countless people asking for his prayers. And though he suffered greatly, he did not ask anything from God, but only prayed tearfully that the Lord ease the pain of his fellow beings. Weeks later, on July 11, the day of his beloved Saint Ephthemia's feast, he communed for the last time, kneeling by his bed. All during the night that followed, he called ceaselessly upon the Panagia. "My kind Panagia, my kind Panagia." At 11 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, July 12, 1994, his holy soul flew to his beloved Lord Jesus. In accordance with his final wish, the elder's worn-out yet holy body was buried on the grounds of the monastery of St. John the Theologian, and, as he had requested, his tomb was engraved with the words from his last poem. And to this day, thousands of pilgrims from all over the world find comfort by praying at his grave, countless of whom testify to the miracles they experience there. He may have left this world, but St. Paisios does not cease to visit and appear before the eyes of those who call upon him with humility and faith, acknowledging his holiness. There, by his side of God's throne, he continues the work he started here on earth. Yet now he is God's heavenly signal man, and life interferences such as death, time, and sickness cannot interrupt his work. His radio's signal, that is, his heart's prayer, is as clear and strong as ever, and so his blessings embrace our whole earth, protecting us from danger. His love for us has become one with heaven, and we too pray for his blessings. Do you remember, children, what St. John the Theologian tells us in the end of the Gospel? All the books in the world, he says, are not enough to contain events of Christ's life. And so, too, many books have been written about St. Paisios, who imitated Christ's life. When you grow up, you should read them too, and learn about the many miracles he performed and enjoyed his beautiful and valuable teachings.
Γεια σου ευλογημένε! Συνέχισε τη μελεβενδιά και μην ανησυχείς για τίποτα. Συνέχισε με πίστη. Τώρα βρε και μην φοβάσαι.
Εξομολογήστε το Κύριο ότι αγαθός, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος Ίσον ουρανούς ενσύνεση, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Ήσαν τίποτα μεγάλα μόνο, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Για τους αστέρες εξουσίαν την νυχτούς, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Εξαγαγών τον Ισραήλ εκ μέσου αυτών, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Κατά διελώνει την ερυθράν θάλασσαν εις διέρεσης, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Και κτηνάξαν την Φαραώ και την δύναμην αυτού εις θάλασσαν ερυθράν, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Το πατάξαν τη βάσης μεγάλους, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Τον Σιών βασιλέα των Αμοραίων, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Δόντι την αυτοκληρονομία, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Ότι μη ταπεινός ημών εμνήστημον ο Κύριος, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια. Διδούς τροπήν πάσης αρχή, αλληλούια, ότι στον